Most times when religion is mentioned within the confines of government, people cry separation of church and state. Separation of church and state is a common metaphor for the church staying out of the state's business and the state staying out of the church's business. In most cases, however, the metaphor is used exclusively to keep the state out of the church's business, not to keep the church out of the state's business. And do please note that in this context, church is used in a broad sense, and that metaphor really means separation of religion and state. Although sections 10 and 38 of the 1999 Constitution prohibits government adoption of religion and allows every Nigerian to kneel at the altar of his own faith and worship God according to the dictates of his own conscience, thus giving Nigeria a secular status, the country is far from a secular state. The two primary places where morality is taught are the family and the places of worship. The mosque and the church are allowed to influence the government in righteousness and justice so that virtue would be upheld. Because as we have found out, not allowing the church to influence the state is destroying our foundation of righteousness and justice, even as our representatives look after their own good instead of the country's. I am therefore inclined to believe that this is the reason behind the platform, a forum organized yearly by the Covenant Christian Church, which brings together people who share ideas, prefer solutions to ensure a better Nigeria, as well as try to inspire the youth. Even as the church says, the platform is not necessarily a religious or political meeting. The senior pastor, Christian Covenant Center, Poju Oyemade, is my guest on View from the Top today, and I want to thank him. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me on the program.
And thank you for joining us. I am Modele Sharafa Yusuf, and here is a brief biography of Pastor Poju before we launch into our conversation. Poju Oyemade was born on 8th May 1968. He got a bachelor's degree in applied physics and electronics from the University of Lagos and was called to the ministry while he was still an undergraduate at the university. He was ordained into ministry by Bishop David Oyedepo, the presiding bishop of Living Faith Ministries worldwide. Pastor Poju Oyemade founded the Covenant Christian Center on March 30, 1994, and is currently senior pastor of the church. Let me start today's program with a quote from Jose Saramago, a Portuguese writer and 1998 Nobel laureate. He says, "Us as citizens, we all have an obligation to intervene and become involved. It is the citizen who changes things," end of quote. Maybe I should then ask you to weigh in on the national reorientation debate. From where should change begin?
From leadership. Change has to begin with the leadership. That will be the easiest and the most practical way. If the change starts from the citizens, and in terms of the followership, then that could get a little bit aggressive. So it's best that the leadership sets the tone for the kind of change that should occur within the country.
So do you see any inkling that this change is coming from the top?
I think, to be sincere, I think that there is sincerity in intention as to whether the political forces and the political elites and the forces in Nigeria will want the type of change. That's a different thing entirely.
And what can we as citizens do?
Citizens want people collectively, as citizens in the country, shift their position. That is, it is clear that people have moved into this particular space, that this is what they truly demand collectively from their leaders. The leaders will have to change to that.
Does that mean you don't get the impression that we all want the same thing? We all are heading in the same direction of change, whatever change means?
Nigeria is a large country. We are different, diverse people. The level of education in the nation is not too high, right, in terms of the amount of people. So to get the collective in terms of the people that actually vote, not about the small educated elite, people that actually vote inside the country, to understand and to make that shift is more complicated than it may seem.
What can we be doing to sensitize people to the need to do what you just said?
I know the democratic system of government it's assumed that the electorate thrives best when you have an educated citizenship, right? Which means citizenry is educated. The more educated they are, they'll be better disposed, right, in making choices. And if they are not as aware as they should be, then it becomes, because, I mean, if people say that we determine who becomes our leader by how much money we give on the, I mean, that shows that it will take much more to get us into that space. That's why I said the easiest way to go about it is that the leadership themselves understand and make the shift that they ought to make.
You know, despite Nigeria's constitutional secularity in Section 10, religion has been playing an increasing role in the life of the nation and of the general populace, while the use of religion as a tool for achieving political goals has contributed somewhat or to a great deal to the problem of the crises we have in Nigeria. How much role should religious institutions play in politics?
In terms of partisan politics, absolutely none. In terms of politics, in terms of the science in which we relate one with another, yes. They should stand as the arbiters in terms of determining whether what is moral from what is immoral, and speaking out as a voice to condemn that which is immoral, and to acknowledge and also to give some sort of spiritual direction, right, to the nation. But in terms of partisan politics, that is, we are seen to be siding one side or the other side, that will be a costly error.
But do you reckon that the church is doing what you just said it should be doing in the life of, is doing enough in that direction?